Part 1, The RV Dead End, by Ron Giles, April 25, 2020. The revaluation of certain national currencies is called the RV. This has been going on for 2 decades now with no end in sight unless you are a guru. The most notorious currency to RV is the Iraqi dinar. As with all good things, especially with money, so does the cabal get involved with extreme tactics of intrigue, description, and theft. There is an unspoken public axiom that if it means the people will get money, the cabal will get involved and try to stop it from happening, or at the very least, figure out a way to limit the slaves from getting large amounts of money. Would you agree? Or are you just now looking through the sand in your eyes that happens when you pull your head out of the sand? With every good intention, initiative, deed, there is a group or an entity that is looking to turn it, or part of it, into a scam, especially if it pertains to an ideology or has money involved. The RV blessing is no exception. The dinar then was the target currency that began the whole RV assault. Many higher-ups in the military became aware of the maneuver by the people who make war, to devalue a nation's currency that we are at war with. So, many in the military got involved in the RV as well. The devaluation was done to limit the value of the currency so that the warring nation could not afford to buy arms to defend themselves. This devalue the currency maneuver was designed by the U.S. cabal faction to make a killing when the war ended and the currency was revalued to where it was before. This is part of the reason for wars, so the elite could make a killing out of killing people. The word got out to the normal people and a currency-type gold rush was on for the average person who wanted to make money buying the depressed currency and then wait for the revaluation. It would have happened many years ago if it wasn't for the average people getting involved. Once the knowledge of the revaluation got out, the cabal rush was on to infiltrate and create a whole new scam. It was ripe for the greedy to do their thing and the people fell for it hook, line and sinker. Join a group became the cry. Join a group and get a better deal, more people, more currency, better bargaining for rates with the nebulous powers that be, still yet to be identified as authoritative. Who determines the rates? Central banks? The Treasury Department? Some government official? Who knows? Who signed the contract for contract rates and by what authority? What happens when you assume something? Some group proponents were honest in their attempts at better rates, others had no intention of getting rightful money back to the owners of the currency. The fraud begins in earnest with the average people being the victims. These victims are in a squeeze between the greedy types and the cabal that doesn't want people to have money. Contract exchange rates were advertised all over the place with no authorized spokesperson available to consult with or to countermand this grouping mentality. There was a boogeyman mentality that permeated the revaluation arena. If you weren't in a group, you could be given a rate that was substantially less than the group's contract rate. You will lose money. Get into a group to get the best rates was the thought at the time. As has always been the case, the cabal types play on the greed factor. It works wonders to manipulate people and it is working again today as we speak in the RV process as the cabal manipulates the greed factor amongst the currency holders. Maybe it would be a good question to ask at this late time in the RV process, where does the exchange money come from? Who supplies the money for the revaluations? Is it the banks, the government? Are there some funds just sitting around somewhere waiting for the RV to take place so all this money can be given out at the exchanges? Try to figure that out, and when you do, publish it on IDC so we will all know, please. Has anyone thought it through? Where is the source of the RV money? Could it be that Congress will appropriate the funds so that they can all make a big fat profit? How many congressmen or senators have devalued currencies? Why didn't Obama sign the release of exchange funds executive order way back when? The word scam written all over the RV process. Can you guess who the scammers are? As the group mentality effectively took over the currency holders, there was a need for people to have the latest information concerning the RV process. Many group leaders began giving conference calls, con calls, to update their people. With the lack of income from the constant delays, the con call hosts began to solicit money from their groups so they could continue to gather the info and report their findings. The currency groupies were beholden to their leaders and needed to have their daily or weekly info fix and hung on to even the very smallest tidbits of info. The setting was ripe for manipulation while the currency holders supported the con call host and still do to this day. Too bad they mostly make up things that they shoehorn into the RV scenario. When you can't get any real info, do you just make it up so you don't lose the audience? 20 years later, we still have conference calls. The problem is, at this late date, everything that could be manipulated as information has been worn out to keep the currency holders hanging on. Back to the drawing boards, you trolls, create more junk to use. Go to the next level. Now there is always a new twist, a supposedly new reason for the delay with anything plausible to keep the endless dead-end detour in place that kicks the RV can down the road. Lifelong intellectuals came into play to up the game. They created some really wow scams to create legitimacy for their tenure on the guru stage of theatrics. Cambridge University. Mark Z, perhaps the best so far, still 100% wrong. The RV process evolved into a public scam. There are countless lives that have been devastated by these shysters as the daily hopes and dreams of people wanting to get the money are dashed again. This has created very poor, daily decisions for people who ignorantly believe these people. It continues today with the continuous flow of cabal-type gurus as the old ones are replaced by the next generation of know-it-all wannabes. Because there is no recognized authoritative source of information, except the Alliance, and they don't talk. The guru's imagination has taken over the flow of information, and as you can see, every new geopolitical news is woven into the fabric of the dialogue so that the speculation sounds credible. Mother's Day, Father's Day, Labor Day, and July 4th are all coming up. Can't wait to see what they come up with next. The incredibly stupid, illegal 80-20 split was interjected into the RV process by trolls without legal authority. Currency exchange is a legitimate investment. It is illegal to require humanitarian projects to be done with the use of the exchanged funds. This is business, not just a privilege. The Forex market is my example. Profits from Forex trading are not required to do humanitarian projects with any percentage points. Who would do the audit to ensure compliance? This is cabal muddied footprints, and we currency holders have bought into it hook, line and snickered. The Zim bond is a different thing, with redemption money coming from a common agreed upon source, the QFS. The benevolency of the QFS might save the RV by funding the exchanges. That is the plan, so far. The QFS does not support the 80-20 illegal scam. Have the banks been in charge of the RV? Yes. Do you have your money yet? Duh. That was a rhetorical question. As long as bankers are in charge of the RV, it will never happen. The 80-20 split was introduced as a way to limit the amount of money you could personally use for yourself. This was a masterful deception to deepen the greed hook to buy more currency. How many of these currency investors had any real heartfelt desire for humanitarian work we will never know. Some perhaps, but most went along because they did not want to look greedy. While there are a lot of sincere humanitarians involved, there exists a considerable percentage of the currency holders that have no real interest in doing humanitarian work. They are in it for the money. This is not a bad thing. That's what people purchase their currency for in the first place. There is nothing inherently wrong with investing for a return on one's investments. That's what makes capitalism work. They are now victims of the cabal manipulations who are caught in the middle. Low rates and forced humanitarian work. This is typical cabal activities. The net result of the RV scam is that the wait continues. But the groundwork has been laid by the cabal to limit the funds you will receive. It's in the minds of the people. Is it hard now to see the appropriate assessment of calling this an illegal scam? If humanitarian work is supposed to be the motivation to get the money, then why are the powers that choose to be still trying to limit the funds available for humanitarian work? Does the cabal really care about humanitarian work? This is a gotcha moment for the cabal types that continue unabated on IDC. If you limit the funds available to the currency holders with heart, then why talk about doing 80-20 humanitarian work? This is the RV scam. This inconsistency is one big fraud. We are being played. It is a dead end with the only life-giving substance supplied by those who have the heart to do humanitarian work. Those supposed humanitarians who give lip service to their alleged intent to be humanitarians are the ones who are messing everything up for those who are pure in heart with real intent and are driven by love for mankind. Bless the Alliance who will save the RV process for the people. In Part 2, We will talk about the Zen redemption and the massive amount of funds needed to accomplish the goal of healing mankind. Blessings to all, and to all, be a blessing. Ron Giles.